Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, you are going to be learning how to make this cone dress. Now, this is a halter neck dress too, but our focus is going to be on this cone. So, just for you to understand, the emphasis is just on the cone, how you can create this cone to come out so beautiful like this. So, if this sounds like what you really want to learn, then stay tuned. So here I'll be using a scuba fabric. This dress is for a 2 to 3 year old. Not all fabrics work for this type of dresses. The very thick scuba fabric, that's the only fabric that work for cone. If not, the cones will not stand. So I'm using a scuba fabric, the thick one, and this dress is for a 2 to 3 year old. So the first thing you need to understand here is that this is an A-line dress. So go ahead and cut your A-line dress based on your own measurement. So this is our starting line. In every sewing, you must have a starting line. So this is the starting line of our A-line dress. Like I said, this is our starting line. You can pin it down to hold the fabric because sometimes the fabric will not stay. So go ahead and pin yours down. So you are now going to measure your armhole depth. It's also called the chest line. So our armhole depth is 4 inches plus half. That half is the shoulder slant. Because of the child, I'm going to slant my shoulder by just half an inch. So 4 plus half makes 4.5, and our chest line is 4.5. Mind you, the chest line is also your armhole depth plus the shoulder slant. And then the next thing is you are going to measure the full length, and our full length here is 18 inches. The shoulder to the hemline is 18 inches. The dress is for like 2 to 3 year olds, small size. It will still work, though it's going to be like above the knee. So you are going to measure your hemline. You are going to go ahead and use your own child's measurement. This is for my client. So whatever your child's measurement is to make an A-line dress, you go ahead and use it. So the next thing you're going to do is to mark your shoulder. The shoulder we're using here is 8. Divided by 2 is 4 inches. Plus half inch, that makes 4.5. So go ahead and mark the shoulder. Now the same measurement you put on the shoulder, you're going to mark it on the chest line to create the armhole. So go ahead and mark it. So the 4.5 I marked on the shoulder line, I also mark it on the chest line. Now you are going to draw and join the lines together. Mark your shoulder slant, which is half an inch. So the next thing is to mark your neck width and neck depth. Here we'll be using a neck width of 2 inches. That's for the neck width by 2.5. The reason is it's a halter neck dress and it's going to have a collar. So it's going to sit close to the neck. So go ahead and curve your markings. Then after curving your markings, you are going to slant your shoulder. Whatever is your measurement, you can use it. You can even slant your shoulder more than half an inch. Depends on what you want. You can go as far as 0.75. And now we are going to curve our armhole. Now everybody understands this is a basic. That's what I mean. This is a basic in sewing. To get the armhole curve, we are going to divide the armhole by 2, then come inside by half an inch. This is just basic knowledge. So I will not be going so much into that. So create your armhole curve. I'm trying to make this visible. The dress is still going for sale. So I'm using pencil and I don't want the lines to be too obvious. So go ahead and do it. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to mark your divided chest measurement. Here I'm using a chest of 22. If we divide it by 4, it's going to give you 5.5. So mark your divided chest measurement. And the same thing you mark, you're going to mark it at the hemline too. So at the hemline, you are going to mark the same 5.5. Whatever you put at the chest, you are going to mark it at the hemline. Then because it's an A-line dress, you are going to add 1.5. Normally we add 3 inches when it's an A-line dress. But because we are adding cones and the cones are going to bring out that shape to make it more visible, we will not be adding 3 inches. But we are going to add just 1.5 inch. So go ahead and then add 1.5 inch at the hemline. Yes, to bring out the A line shape. Then join your lines together. Then after doing this, whatever is your sewing allowance, some people add 1.5 inch. Whatever you decide to add as your sewing allowance, you are going to go ahead and you are going to add it. So for me, I'm going to add just 1 inch as my sewing allowance. So go ahead and add whatever is your allowance and then mark them together, and you have gotten your A-line dress. So like I said, it's for a 2 to 3 year child. It's not going to be too big. It's just going to be like a fitted, and it looks finer when it's short, not too bogus like that. So right now we are going to cut out our front bodies. We have finished drafting it out. This is a freehand sewing. So we are going to cut it out, then move to the back bodies. We are now cutting the back bodies. I'll be using the front piece to cut out this back piece. You can use freehand and cut it without the front piece. But for the purpose of this tutorial, let's just use it for you to understand easily. So you are going to choose to use either a zip or a button at the back. For me, I'll be using a button at the back. If you are going to use a zip, leave your zip allowance. But here I will only be slashing it. And then the back, the width is going to be the same with the front, 2 inches. But the depth, I'm only going to use 1/2 inch. I used 2.5, yes, 2.5 for the front. Then that's for the depth. Then 2 inches for the width. So I'm still going to use the same 2 inches for the back, but only 1/2 inch for the neck depth. So as you can see, this is my 1/2 inch for the back. Then the width is still 2 inches. That's just the only thing for the back. Then you go ahead and you cut. The back is not so hard. After making it, pinning it down, all you need to do is just cut. Now, before we draw out the lines on our dress, we are going to cut out the cones to make it easy for you to understand. So here you are going to fold your fabric in a triangular form, or rather you're going to cut it in a triangular form. You can fold your fabric like a square or a rectangle, but you're going to cut it in a triangular form. And then the length of our cone is going to be like 9 inches. I'm adding more. It's better to have excess than for the cone to short, because with the excess you can trim it out. So here I'm going to add 9 inches instead of 8 that is like for that age. I make it 9. Mind you, all the allowances are inside. Then you mark 5 inches. You can see just the way I'm doing it, trying to create the triangle. That is 5 inches, but the length is 9 inches. Then you are going to curve it like in the form of a triangle, just the way I'm doing it. I folded it. I measured 9 inches, including allowance. Then I measured at the hem, at the end of the triangle, 9 inches. And I created that triangle, and I'm going to cut. Now you're going to use this particular one and cut all the number of triangles you will be needing, or rather all the cones you will be needing. So this is just a sample, and I'm going to use this one to cut all the colors of cone. You can do it in different colors, you can do it same color, but this is the one I'm going to use to cut all the cones I will be needing for the dress. So after getting this one, we are going to go to the our fabric, our A-line dress, and then draw out the lines for the cone. As you can see, this is our A-line dress. We are going to draw out the lines. So you calculate from the hem upwards. For this one, I'm going to measure 8 inches upward. Although the cone was 9, yes, I want excess. I don't want it to short. As you can see, 8 inches upward. You can make it more. It's a thing of choice. But when it's short, it looks finer. And then this is the wrong side. You draw your lines from the wrong side. So this is my 8 inches. From the hemline upward is 8 inches. You mark it and you are going to draw. It doesn't start at the waist. Maybe the upper hip, you can make it, and that's how it is. It's finer that way. So this is my 8 inches downwards. I will draw the line, and on this line I'm going to draw all the lines for the combs I will be sewing. So now the next thing you are going to do is to get the middle point. To make it easy for you, just measure it and then divide it into two. Whatever you get there as your measurement, just make sure you share it into two and mark it. We are trying to get the middle of the dress. So this is like 14 and a half, and I mark 7.25. When you mark that, you fold it and mark the down part to get the middle point. So you mark the down part, that's the middle point, then you open it and then you connect the lines to make it visible. That is your middle line. Then after you have connected the line, you are going to start whichever side you start from. There you are going to measure 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch, and you do the same 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch. So the space in between the cones is 1.5 inch. So that's what you're going to do. Now you can choose to do just 1 inch. It depends on your choice. If you want to have more cones, you can make it 1 inch. But I think 1.5 is, for me, it's not a standard, but I feel it should be a standard because it's finer. And then that's how you mark it. When you mark it, you finish and do the same at the hemline. You will draw all these lines to the hemline and you will connect them. Don't forget, this is the wrong side of the fabric. This is the wrong side of the fabric. So you are going to draw all these lines. You draw all of them to the hemline. So these are the lines where our cone is going to sit on. And then after doing this, you are going to do the same thing on the back piece. The same thing you are doing here, you are going to do it on the back piece. And after getting that, all the lines, and if you are okay with it, from at this point you cannot take your scissors and then you will begin to cut. So don't forget, you are still going to do the same thing on the back piece. I will not be showing that of the back piece because it's not something hard. So just apply the same thing. So now this is our back piece. I have gone ahead and I've done that. You do the same thing and then you are going to cut every single line with your scissors. Your cone is going to sit on this line. Then you count the number of lines to know the number of cones you are going to cut. So for me, I have 9 lines in front and 9 lines at the back. So you are going to cut 9 pieces of those cones for the front and 9 pieces at the back. That will be 18 pieces. If you go for just 1 inch, you are going to have more cones, and then it consumes fabric, and the fabric is quite expensive now. A yard is 3,000 naira. So if you are going to make one dress, this is just half yard for the bodies. Then the cone will take up to another 1.5 yard, depending on the age of the child you will be making the dress for. If you are making for bigger children, Definitely the cone is going to be more than 9 inches, then it's going to consume more fabric. So that's another area you need to pay attention to, because scuba fabric is quite expensive in this our Benin market. So the more the cone, the more the fabric you are going to consume. So for me, 1.5 is just okay. So after cutting it, you do the same thing for the back. And at this point, this is where you're going to take your cone, the cone you have cut, and then begin to sew it to it. So as you can see, these are the pieces of my cones that I've gone ahead to cut. You can use the same color, you can use different colors, but for me, I'll be using different colors. So I have cut all the pieces according to the number of the lines I have drawn. Like I said, 9 in front, 9 at the back. I have 18 pieces of different colors of cone. So I'll be showing you how I do it briefly before I go to the machine. Now, as you can see, this is the wrong side that helps you to draw the lines. But when it's time to sew the cone, you turn it on the good side. The wrong side is just to draw the lines that will guide you for the cone. But when you now want to sew your cone, you are going to flip it over to the good side. So this is my good side right now. So you are going to take your cone, and then according to the colors you want, then you are going to come to the starting point and put it. The first one, put it to be 1/2 inch over where the cutting stops. 1/2 inch over where that cutting stop, and pin it. And then this is how you are going to turn it. You are going to turn it and sew, but I will advise you to pin, and I'm still going to pin and show you. This is just to give you the idea of what I'm going to do. You can see. So I'm going to go to the machine, and I will pin it, and I will show you how it's done. It's wiser to pin it to guide you, to avoid mistakes, to avoid you losing, sewing and losing. But this is the idea. You pin it, you turn it like this, you sew, or pin everything. So I'm going to pin everything and give you a picture of how it's done. You can choose to pin it or do it when you are practicing yours. So let's go to the machine so that I'll pin it and I show you how I do it. So right now I've selected my colors. So you take your first color and then pin it, just the way I said it before. Pin it to overlap that starting point by just 1/2 inch. Then you pin it both the left side and the right side. So it's a long process, so I will not be showing it. Just turn it, flip it like this, or rather, yes, and then begin to pin it. Pin it to the very hem, and after you're done, you do it on the other side too. It's something you're going to take your time and do it. By the time you are done with this side, you flip it the other side. Yes, you flip it the other side and begin to do it. And then you're going to continue this process all through the lines. Ideally, you're not supposed to do all of them at the same time. But I just want to show you because it's going to take a long process. Now, let me advise you. I only did this pinning to show you. Don't pin all your cones together. It's going to hurt you. It's going to wound you while you are sewing. For you to understand it, I just pinned most of them just to show you how it will look like. So for you, you are going to pin one after the other. Before you pin the next one, you sew the one you have pinned. So don't do this method. Sew them one by one. So this is how it's going to appear. As you can see, it's just pinning. This is how it's going to appear. So please sew your cone one after the other. So here I will not be showing the sewing process because it's something that is really long. But this explanation is enough. Now, if you look at the presser foot, the cone is longer than my A-line dress. It doesn't matter. It's just for you. It's better to have excess than for you to have shortage. And after doing, you are going to trim this thing off. So as a tailor, you should know how to trim. So I will not be showing all these, but I think at this point, you should be able to cut and sew your own cone dress. just make sure that that V point, it is half inch longer to help you to sew and pass at that point. So this is the final look of our cone dress. The emphasis is on the cone. So this is the final look. Thank you for watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you.